Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Skorka. I'm president of Opera America, and I'm absolutely thrilled to see so many of you here tonight. If we were to single out any of our distinguished guests, A, I would keep you here all night, and B, I would undoubtedly leave someone out and offend them. So just wonderful to have so many good friends of Opera America here, and new friends too. We also have an audience watching this on a live stream, so welcome to you as well, wherever you may be. This evening we have Salon Evening, of course, with the wonderful composer and good friend Jake Heggie, whom I will introduce in just a moment. We'll hear some musical excerpts, and then I will sit down with him for a few minutes of questions and answers before taking a few questions from you. Welcome to our transitional office space. Opera America has been here only for about, I guess, a year now. We'll be here another few months, but we're in this space because we are under construction for the first ever National Opera Center, which will open on September 28. You see a card on your chair that talks about the fact that we're open for reservations, and that beautiful blue hall you see on that card will be our audition recital hall. We'll have a recording studio, vocal studios, a reference library with score library, listening room. So a whole first ever National Opera Center right here at 337th Avenue. So stay tuned, and more information on our website about that. The Salon series that we have this evening is part of Opera America's commitment to helping support the creation and production of new American opera. Over the last 25 years, we've given out more than $11 million in grants to companies to support workshops and productions of new work and related audience development activities. We just believe that new American opera is essential to the health of the art form, and when those works are by Jake Heggie, we know we're in really good hands. There are a few other items on your chair. One is the brochure for our annual conference, which is coming up June 13 to 16 in Philadelphia, co-hosted by the Opera Company of Philadelphia, Eddie Burge, sitting right there from OCP. We hope we'll see you there for wonderful keynote sessions, frankly over 100 general sessions, roundtable special events. It's a great event, and we'll have a new work showcase there, and performances of Nico Muhly's Dark Sisters. So again, June 13 to 16 in Philadelphia. And finally, the other brochure is a description of our season of activities, our Making Connections and Salon series events here at Opera America. We're nearing the end of the season, but there are still a few activities left, so check your calendar and check the brochure. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure. Please join me in welcoming Jake Heggie.
Thank you. Welcome to the Salon. I'm very, very grateful that you're all here. So many good friends and family. My aunt is here. And wonderful friends who volunteered to be here tonight to sing in the acoustically perfect space. I'm especially grateful to them for doing that. And we have a variety of things for you tonight. And so I'm going to just say a few words about each thing as we go. This first set was written, the Breaking Waves. These are 3 of 4 songs on text by Sister Helen Prejean, who, of course, wrote the book for Dead Man Walking and is the main protagonist in that opera. And it was my first opera with Terence McNally 12 years ago. And just last summer, Elise Quagliata sang the role of Sister Helen in St. Louis. And I first got to know Elise several years ago, and she's a wonderful colleague and collaborator and singer, and she's learned these 3 songs just for us tonight. So here to sing the first 3 songs from the Breaking Waves is Elise Quagliata.
the air conditioner vent?
It's getting really hot. Anyway, thank you. The next songs were written just last year, and I'm so proud and thrilled that the man who did the texts and has done the texts for Moby Dick, 3 December, To Hell and Back, all of our song cycles together, many, many, many works. Plus, he's a wonderful librettist with other composers. He's working on a new opera for the Santa Fe Opera with Jennifer Higdon. He's amazing. He's a great friend. He's an amazing collaborator, amazing guy. His name is Gene Shear, and he's right there. These songs, Pieces of 9/11, were written last year for the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, but they were commissioned by the Houston Grand Opera. The first response team, a lot of the first responders from outside of New York came from Houston first, and they all had stories that they felt they wanted and needed to tell. And so what Gene did was he conducted countless hours of interviews with many people, people on Task Force 1, people who were survivors, people who had family members, all kinds of people. And then he pulled together texts that I set and we performed. And Talise Trevigne, who's going to sing this next song for you, was in the premiere. She was also Pip in Moby Dick, in the world premiere of Moby Dick 2 years ago, and just did it in San Diego, and is going to do it in San Francisco this fall, plus record some other things with me. I'm a huge fan of hers, and she's a huge inspiration to anyone who gets to know her. And here to sing lessons from Pieces of 9/11 is Talise Trevigne. baritone that I met a couple of years ago when I did a master class, and then I met him again in Boston at Boston University, where he's just finishing up his master's degree, ready to move out into the big wide world, terrifying for a singer, and for anybody, right? And I heard him up there sing in 3 Decembers and also do this song together. And so this is another song for Pieces of 9/11, and here is Christiaan Smith-Kotlarek.
Family and bone, and everything belonged to somebody gone, and we all belonged to each other from that moment on. Everything belonged to somebody, to somebody gone, and we all belonged to each other from that moment that moment.
Thank you. It's very hot. Use your fans. We're their fans. Use your fans. I also wanted to tell you, I also just recorded a CD with Talise that is out on GPR Records called The Statue of Venus, which we did just recently, and it's wonderful. It was fun to do, and the guy who produced it, and also has songs on it, Glenn Rogan, is here tonight too, and he brought a copy. Like a good Tuesday. This next piece is from a chamber opera that Jean and I did on a commission from the Philharmonia Baroque Orchestra, a new work for a Baroque period instrument orchestra in San Francisco. And Jean adapted the story of the rape of Persephone and updated it so that Persephone, when she's abducted to hell, it's actually an abusive marriage that she's trapped in. And we had two performers. One was a soprano, and one was Patti LuPone. How can you do that? And it was great fun. The piece is very powerful, and here to sing the soprano aria is wonderful Devon Guthrie, who I met like 2 years ago when she was 12. No, I met her a few years ago, and I think she was 17 or 18 then. She's just finishing up the Juilliard program now. She's singing Donna Elvira in Juilliard's production of Don Giovanni, and Mr. Rehearsal tonight will be with us, with permission. So here's the Queen of Hell, Devon Guthrie. this next duet is from a collection of 5 duets called Facing Forward, Looking Back. And it's about mothers and daughters and that ever-changing, interesting relationship. I grew up in a household with my mother and 2 older sisters and saw it firsthand. And, so this song cycle traces sort of the different episodes in a mother and daughter's relationship. This one happens to be that moment, and Armistead Maupin wrote the text for me. This happens to be that moment when the daughter looks in the mirror and sees her mother staring back at her. Many years later. And here to sing it are Elise and Talise. This next song also features a text by Jean Shear. It's from a set of 4 songs in tribute to Poulenc, who was a very, very important composer to me. One of my favorites growing up. Listened to all the Poulenc songs. I think there's a huge French influence in a lot of my work. And this was written as part of a retrospective at Whitmore Hall about Poulenc, featuring his songs. This particular song, the song cycle is called Friendly Persuasions, and it's about important friendships, pivotal friendships in Poulenc's life, these 4 pivotal friendships that changed his thinking and his direction. The first one is Wanda Landowska, the famous harpsichordist. The second one is Pierre Bernac, the famous singer. This third one that Jonathan is going to sing is Raymond de Linossier, who Poulenc was actually in love with early on, asked her to marry him, and she said, "No, you're gay." Sound familiar? And basically, it was a great friend to him. He asked her again. She said no, and was very, very close to him and very important to him, and died very suddenly and tragically in her early 30s. And Poulenc was devastated by this, and he did keep tokens of her with him for the rest of his life. And so this is a kind of a love song to her memory. And so this song is I Wanted to Know. It's being sung by a very dear friend of mine, a wonderful tenor named Jonathan Blalock, who lives down here, who lives in New York now. I'm so confused where I am. But I met him when he was in the apprentice program at Fort Worth Opera, and he had a role in Dead Man Walking there. And so now he lives here, and we get to make music every now and then. Here's the wonderful Jonathan Blalock.
Chance to bleed yellow, burgundy or gold, dissolves away like dew. Primordial innocence, all of my youth departed with you. Part of my life will always belong to you. In my pocket I carry your cigarette case. On my dresser is your photograph. Even now, every melody I write casts into the distance to discover something new. Yearns for something lost, and leads me back to you. Primordial innocence, all of my youth departed with you. I wonder what of my life. Part of my life will always belong to you.
Three Decembers is an opera with three characters, a famous stage actress who happens to be a mother. It takes place over 3 different decades in this family's life. It's a big lyric mezzo role, and then the daughter, B, is a soprano, and the son, Charlie, is baritone. And the piece was premiered in Houston a few years ago with Frederico Estrada as Madeline Mitchell, and who I've had the great pleasure of working with many times. One of the most important moments in that opera comes at the end of the first part, the first decade, when Charlie and B are struggling to remember their father who died when they were very young. And they're walking across the Golden Gate Bridge because they had heard that their parents had walked across it when they had first met. So the bridge takes place the scene takes place on the Golden Gate Bridge. Charlie and B trying to remember things about the father that they really never knew. And here to sing it are Devon and Christiaan, who sang the role of Charlie recently up in Boston. Thank you.
I only remember
The question was always not, what is that? It's, how are you going to do that? And luckily it went very well. It opened 2 years ago in Dallas, in their new opera house. And was just going to, was done in Australia and then in Canada, and the conductor of that production, and one in San Diego, sitting back there. We're very grateful that he's here. And it's going to be in San Francisco this fall, and then Points Beyond. Phil Cutlip is someone that I've known for quite a few years. He's sung in my opera, The End of the Affair. And last year he was in Dead Man Walking in Houston with Joyce DiDonato, which was recorded by EMI and will be out in a little over a month, probably, which is very exciting. This particular scene in the opera is at the end of the first act. And of course, Ahab has taken control of the ship. Everyone is in his thrall, except Starbuck, who is the one who sees his madness and sees the folly of the pursuit of this one whale. And so Starbuck has confronted him in Ahab's chamber, and Ahab actually at one point pulls a gun on Starbuck and threatens to shoot him for mutiny, and decides not to. And later on that night, Starbuck goes back to Ahab's cabin to talk to him about what happened and to try to talk sense into him. And Ahab is lying asleep in the cabin, and the gun that he almost used to kill Starbuck is sitting right there next to his feet. And Starbuck has one of those to be or not to be moments. Gene Shear did the most amazing job distilling this 800-page novel into a full libretto. It was really, really, really remarkable. And here to sing that closing scene of Act 1 as Starbuck is the wonderful Philip Cutlip. Who is currently singing the role of Guglielmo in Così fan tutte with City Opera, that's getting such glorious notices. And he took his night off to be with us. Thank you.
Speak with you, sir. Ah, he's sleeping. He would have shot me. The very musket he pointed at me, loaded, I, and powder in the pan. He would have killed me with the very thing in my hands. Would he really kill all his crew? My soul's quest, this ship will come to deadly harm. What cares they Is there no other way, no lawful way? Make him a prisoner to be taken home. Rest the old man's living part from his own hands. All your fool try it. The men have found thy vows. I know all of us are Ahabs. what shall I do? One touch and Starbuck may survive to see his wife and child again, return to them alive.
Talise is going to sing two of the songs that we recorded in January that are on her new CD from the song cycle called Natural Selection, which is about a woman's coming of age through various stages of realizing what's going on within her and around her. This song is kind of the independent awakening of animal passion. And then the last song is that wonderful moment when you realize, hopefully, in some time in your life, that you are fine all by yourself, and that you are one with nature. We'll wait till that stops. The text, this song cycle actually wrote back in 1997 for a soprano named Nicole Foland, who's a very dear friend, and the texts were written for her too. And it had never been recorded in its entirety until wonderful Talise did it with Glenn, and with some of Glenn's songs on this music. That will be it for the music portion of the program, and then I think we'll turn on the vents and open the windows, and Mark and I are going to sit here and we'll talk, and then if you all have any questions, and I would love to say hello to everybody afterwards. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and please welcome once again Elise Quagliata.
I mean business.
Accomplished and wonderful artists en masse in our space. As we look forward to the Opera Center where we can hear you in a good acoustic. And Jake, thank
Yes,
you.
everyone should be looking forward to that. We should all contribute to that. So that we get into the new season.
Please, Jake, have a seat. We're using a little bit of old-fashioned air conditioning here. I just think the heat's still on because the date, this crazy weather.
Thank you all for putting up with the heat. Appreciate it.
It's going to be hotter tomorrow.
I know, all kinds of records tomorrow. But Jake, I'd like to start because we record these interviews for some of the professional development value for younger composers who may be seeking to have a career in opera. And it's well known that your beginning as a composer happened from as an opera composer happened from the PR office of the San Francisco Opera. And had you been composing steadily until that moment? Had your works been performed? What was your life as a composer like while you were working in the PR office?
That was a kind of a magical time. A very hard time led up to that. I wrote songs all through my teens and early 20s, and in my late 20s, I developed what's called a vocal dystonia, where my hand curled up into a fist when I would sit down to play. And I couldn't play the piano anymore, and I got very depressed about it. So I stopped writing music as well. I did do some arrangements and things, but I went to a wonderful teacher who had me start from scales all over again after 28 years. And after 5 years, I actually got my hand back, which some people with vocal dystonia never do. And during that 5-year period, of course, I had to find a way to work and support myself, and I found out I could write about music. So I had already written a lot of music, and I'd been a performer, and I traveled a lot. But I had just found out that I could write press releases and speeches, and it actually went very well. And I moved to San Francisco, and I got a job in the PR office as the writer for the company, writing press releases, speeches, etc., etc. And around this time, I started to get the facility in my hand back, and I was hearing some of the most glamorous, gorgeous voices ever to walk the planet on the stage of the Opera House. And my job at that point was to talk to everybody in the Opera House, because I had to write stories and features and pitch stories. So I had to know the people in the costume shop, in the props department, in the symphony, in the orchestra, in the chorus, and every department, administration, all the singers. And what I didn't know is that it was like the best apprenticeship you could possibly imagine as a composer. I still didn't know I was a theater composer. I knew I wanted to write for singers, and I felt inspired to write again when I started working there. And a few of them befriended me, notably Frederica Estrada and Renee Fleming and Bryn Terfel and Sylvia McNair, a few unknowns like that. They were very, very, very kind people, and what I didn't realize is that they actually were looking for songs. It's like the repertoire is so rich, and they all wanted personal pieces for them that they felt confident about staying on the stage, and things that were written specifically for them to do. And so I started doing that, and luckily Flicka, Frederica Estrada, just called everybody, you know. And so she had a big mouth about it, which was wonderful. And she started singing them all over, and I I won a competition through Shermer, and what I didn't know was that all these people in administration, notably Lafi Mansouri, who was the general director at the time, were actually paying attention. And out of the blue one day, he said to me, "Have you ever thought about writing an opera?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, I think you might be an opera composer, and I would like to talk to you about it." He said, "We have a slot open in," I'm going to talk louder, "we have a slot open in the 2000-2001 season, and I want to send you to New York to meet with Terrence McNally and see what you guys might come up with." And it was, and that was the beginning of Dead Man Walking.
So kind of and a lesson through this is to keep doing what you want to do, even as a diversion from your path as a composer seemed to be. It was a really useful path for you to take for making connections and finding opportunities.
Well, it was also, just like I said, the most ideal apprenticeship you could possibly hope for. When I was in the middle of it, I thought I was in hell, you know. I couldn't play the piano. Nobody knew me as a musician. You know, I didn't know if I would ever write again. And then something's going on, right? And then but when I could write again, what made all the difference was I found people who actually wanted to do the music and were excited about it and were very supportive and wanted to program it. So it was just staying awake to that voice inside while being very aware that I needed to make a living. And my thinking at that time was, if I can't have a life in music, which I never thought I would have again, at least I can have it adjacent to it, and I can be part of that. And lo and behold, I wound up having a life in it.
Let's talk about the short form to long form. And here's you've written songs, lots of songs, and Lofty gives you an opportunity to write a full evening of music.
Right.
Is writing an opera just like writing a really long song, or is it
a really long song? No, but what draws me to music, to song, to theater is the storytelling part of it, and that was always true for me. I loved songs. I used to make up songs as a little kid. I started writing when I was around 11. I thought I would be a Broadway composer because I loved musicals. I didn't know anything about opera. You can hear the influence in my writing. It's very clear. But you can also hear sort of the folk influence and the pop influence and the rock influence. And, you know, I'm just a huge crockpot with all these influences. And not a crackpot yet. But it was just keeping that dream alive, and the magic moment was when there were people who actually wanted what I had to do. And I mean, that was just being in the right place at the right time and ready, and also being authentic with it. What I find is a problem is when you present your work in an inauthentic situation or inauthentically, you know, where you're trying to be someone else or you're trying to do something else. That just doesn't resonate with me at all. And so that was like, the fact that it happened while I was authentically, you know, I wasn't pretending that I was an opera composer. I didn't know that. But it was always storytelling that drew me to the form. So the leap really was, you have these moments which are, I mean, it's extended storytelling. It wasn't that hard a leap, except for really understanding how you balance architecturally something. But I've always been interested in architecture and structure, and I wound up working with one of the great playwrights of our time. And I can't tell you how underrated librettists are. That there would not be a successful opera if there were not a successful libretto. You can't have one without the other. You can have a piece that has spectacular music, but doesn't work at all as opera. But if you have a strong libretto with strong structure, strong character development, that makes room for what music can do. So I was just very fortunate that I wound up with someone who is passionate about opera, is a great playwright, is a great collaborator, and really understood how to help with the whole structure. So that was the big leap, was how do you take it to this bigger structure. I had already been writing song cycles that were getting bigger and telling stories, and even now, it's telling stories, a narrative through a song cycle that interests me. But it was a very natural sort of step. I was surprised by how natural it was. But I don't think if I'd had the right collaborator, it would not have worked. And so I've been very, very particular, not only about the collaborators in terms of the librettist or poet if I'm doing songs, but also the director, the conductor, and the cast. If you don't have singers that care enormously about doing new work and who are wide open to it, it's not gonna be successful. Casting is everything. And I write for singers. If they're not on board, or if there's any doubt or resistance, it's just not gonna work.
And you're anticipating a couple of the questions. I wanted to focus on the librettist first. And some of you have heard me say this before, but if you look at the core repertoire, it's amazing how few composer librettist teams are responsible for so much of the core repertoire, whether it's Mozart da Ponte or Verdi, Piave, Verdi Boito, Strauss, von Hofmannsthal, Wagner. You've worked so much with Gene and with Terence McNally.
Yeah.
What makes a good librettist for you?
Someone who, there are a couple of no's. No novelists and no poets for libretti, because novelists and poets are all about words. It has to be someone who's savvy for the stage. It doesn't necessarily have to be a playwright, but someone who understands the stage, who also has a poetic heart, is a wordsmith, also understands what it is that music does well, and where there are things that music can do that you don't need words for. And is also highly collaborative, where, I can talk very freely about how Gene and I work. We sit in a room together once we have an idea that inspires both of us. And it has to be something that really inspires both of us, because you're talking about giving 2 to 3 years of your life to this project. So you're moving into a house with someone, right? And you better like working with that person and living with that person that long. Because even after the piece is done, your names are associated forever. So you like that person, you admire their work, you check ego at the door. It's all about telling that story and serving that drama. And that's all it's about. And it's about doing it to the best of each of our ability and challenging each other and not ever making excuses for disagreeing or anything, just saying what's on your mind and in your heart. So Gene and I will talk a lot about, once we have an idea about how we might tell it, what the characters might be, then after however long that period is, he'll go off and write something and send it to me. I'll respond whether it inspires me or not. Then he'll write more, or it's a lot of back and forth. And then even after we have a first draft of a libretto, once I really start composing, everything can change, because music gives you more information. It gives you information about a character's heart, which gives you information about how they got into the situation they're in, or how they'll get out of it. And sometimes that means different words, or sometimes that means changing whole events. So I need someone who's highly collaborative in that sense, where they're not saying to you, this is the libretto, every word is set, and this is what you said, period. That's not a collaboration. So if the art form, as I'm writing, if it's going to be lively and alive, I need someone who's really responsive and interactive. And as Gene has said many times, a libretto really isn't done or ready until it inspires music. Because ultimately, music has to lead. The words are so important. The situations, the scenes, the whole structure, the unfolding of events, how we get to know characters through other eyes, through inactive real time, all of that, where we're going, the arc of it, the shape of it, all of that is really ingrained in the libretto. So a librettist is so important, and I have to have that sort of sense of freedom with a librettist.
In terms of composing for specific singers, because you started your opera career composing something where you're writing for Frederica von Stade. So you have blended, I think, composing for a soprano, nameless, or mezzo-soprano, but you've also done a lot of composing for specific singers.
I always write for specific singers.
Always?
Always. I always have a specific singer in my head. I can't write well unless I know that. I hear that from playwrights too. They need to know who they're writing for, or have an ideal, even if it's someone who's no longer singing. Like, I wrote pieces for Janet Baker that she never sang, but she was always one of my favorite voices, you know, and I could understand. That made sense to me, how she would tell that story.
So in composing an opera, you make up, as you're writing it, a cast for it that may or may not be...
And sometimes, well, before I start writing, I usually do know the cast, because operas are cast so far in advance. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5 years in advance. So I usually do, and definitely with chamber pieces and songs, I have to know who I'm writing for. It's not that I'm writing the piece specifically for them. I'm writing it for the character. I'm writing a role or a character, but I have to know who the first interpreter is, and I have to know how I'm dressing it on that singer. And their personality, their vocal traits, all of that stuff, that really wakes up my imagination. And I know it does too for librettists to know who you're writing for. Absolutely.
What's it like going to see the opera or the song cycle for the first time with someone else? Is it a jarring, weird experience?
No, it's really, well, it could be, I suppose. I've been very lucky. I've had really great experiences, and I actually look forward to that. Once we've delivered the piece, birthed it, as it were, and this massive baby, you know, that's out on the stage, you know, there's the baby. And once we feel like, you know, it's ready to go out in the world, and even if that's a song or a song cycle or a series of duets or whatever, and I don't feel like I have to hold his hand to cross the street, then I'm really eager to see what other singers will bring, because, like I said, you know, knowing who I'm writing for, I have a sense of what that singer will bring. I know they'll also bring surprises. But then someone else, if you write the role well, then all of a sudden there's lots of people who can do it. And I'll suddenly hear a phrase differently than I've ever heard it. I'll suddenly hear, you know, because they're bringing their whole life experience. You know, because I'm not just writing for singers, I'm writing for singing actors. And actors bring everything that they are with them to the stage. And I want their heart and soul pumping violently out in front of me on the stage. I ask for nothing less and nothing more. And Ricky Ian Gordon, who we all know and love, actually said in a master class we were doing together, I was telling him, you know, I want to see their heart pounding and bleeding. He says, Jake, I think it's even more than that. He says, I think they basically have to poop on the stage. But you know, each person, I mean, that's why in a room you'll suddenly be drawn to someone that you don't know why. You know, there's something about them. And then their life experience comes through. And it's the same with performers on a stage. And you can also tell when it's not the right performer and the right material. There's just something not working. And so that connection with performers is so key. I mean, and frankly, my work is just, Gene's work, my work is just a book on a shelf until these people make it come alive and leap off the stage. And the conductor finds the life in it and gets into whatever I was thinking. And, you know, and then they bring a different energy and the director shapes it. And, you know, that's a really exciting process. But yes, of course I look forward to hearing other people do material.
You have probably more co-productions and co-commissions, or more companies participating in commissions and co-productions than any other composer. One of the reasons is the great quality and joy of the work. But you are also really skilled as a composer in creating relationships, maintaining relationships, and having to build these co-productions. Do you think a composer today has to be involved as a real producing force in getting their opera to the stage?
I honestly don't see how, especially in theater, I don't see how you can do otherwise. You have to love the theater, you have to love every part of it, and you have to love the people, you know? And I think about the audience all the time. If I didn't, I mean, why bother to get anything produced, you know? I mean, if you don't need an audience, you know? And I believe in the art form so much. I love it with all my heart and soul, and I'm so grateful to all the different people who do all the different things. I mean, I had that 4 or 5 years experience in the PR department, watching how hard everybody works, and learning the true magic of theater, and especially opera, which is everybody works so hard and has to work at the highest level that they know how to work. Everybody. And it all comes down, even the audience has to be present, and it's all to make something happen in that moment with the conductor's beat. That is really magical. And I feel like it makes me a better person, and I feel like it makes all of us better people because we reach higher. We expect more of ourselves. Singers certainly put the bar very high for themselves. I honestly don't think there's any job harder than being an opera singer. You travel all the time, you work all the time, you have to constantly be worried about this and concerned about this. You have to look right for the role, you have to act the role, you have to sing it gloriously, you have to do all of this stuff, all this pressure. And of course you do it for the money. You know? Right? No, we all do it. I mean, it's nice to be paid for your work, but we do it because we believe in it so much and with such passion. And yes, there are other things that we could all be doing, but I feel so fortunate to do this. I mean, I feel like our friend Joyce DiDonato said in her award for getting, what are those things? Grammys, right. When she got her Grammy Award, she said she really believes there's a kind of a war on the performing arts in this country. And I agree with her. And I think we all, if you believe in it and you love it, you have to be a warrior for the arts. You have to state the case. I can't tell you how many times I get tired and think, oh, I have to explain this again and justify what I'm doing again. And yet, then I think about everyone who it means so much to, myself included. And I think about, my own son who's 16 and a half, and what's he got to look forward to if there isn't, art and meaning around us, stuff that not only gets us to reflect and on who we are in our souls, but can make an indelible mark in our hearts and souls that we can carry with us forever. I know I was given that gift at an early age, and I can't imagine not doing it for other people. So I do think if a composer is going to be in this field, they have to be that passionate about it and care about the people who are doing it enough that they are a collaborator and working with them.
It's an extraordinary statement.
There's a lot of words, sorry about that. You get the point.
We have time for 2 questions. It's going to keep it for 2, so if you raise your hand, just think, this is going to be a pithy question. Hand number 1. Please.
How do you get your ideas? Where do they come from? Where are your inspirations?
That is the sort of $1 million question, isn't it? I honestly don't know. People inspire me. Gene and I, he's the one who said, someone said, what comes before the words or the music? Or what comes first, the words or the music? Well, what comes first is a scene, or a story, or an event, right? So what inspires me are transformative events in people's lives. That can be internal, it can be a physical thing that happens that transforms your life or your way of thinking or looking at the world. But I find those kinds of stories incredibly inspiring, especially when there are enormous stakes. And that can be life or death stakes. That can be stakes like, one of the reasons I admire the Mozart da Ponte operas, they are all about social injustice and inequity. They are huge statements on that. And I think most composers have that, of the theater, have that sense about why do people treat each other differently? Whether it's class or whether it's this or that. And what are the aha moments and the transformative moments? And I think those inspire me deeply. And I find great music in those kinds of stories. So as for tunes and melodies and things like that, I don't try to analyze it. I just accept. They come at me at different times, and sometimes it's, as Gene, I quote Gene a lot, as he says, different trees grow at different rates. And some pieces it's very easy to write them and they happen instantly, and others it is just anguish, and then you just hope you can break through this wall and find something beautiful on the other side. But that's where you really have to believe in it in the first place. Yeah.
Question number 2.
That was a good question.
A hand?
Can
Right
I
here.
ask a question?
My Aunt Marilyn! My Aunt Marilyn!
I've known him forever.
Yes,
We
she
used to
has.
have to
should know.
drag him away from the piano.
Yeah.
And he used to tell me music is always running through his head. But I wonder, how did you select Moby Dick? Because all of a sudden, Moby Dick is all over the place. All you hear is Herman Melville. Last night there were 2 hours
Really?
about whaling on PBS.
But she asked, how did we come to Moby Dick?
Yes, that's
But I think Moby Dick's always been around. That's the amazing thing. It's like,
And nobody ever did it.
well, people have done different adaptations. I mean, there have been at least 3 film
The
adaptations,
movies, yes, but I mean,
which none of them really worked. And there have been plays where people have tried to do it. One of them by Orson Welles, famous one, Rehearsing Moby Dick. And and different interpretations. Rindy Eckert has a piece that's inspired by Moby Dick. Lots of songs, rock bands. I think it's always been around, but it was when the idea first came up, the Dallas Opera had called me about doing a new piece, and this was in 2005, and I happened to be in New York working with Terrence McNally on a new scene, and we had been looking for something to do together, and he just looked me square in the eye and said, "I want to do Moby Dick." And I was really, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've been thinking about it a really long time," and there was this smile and this twinkle in his eye, and that's when I knew it was possible. And eventually, he did not ultimately write the libretto. Wonderful Gene did like this spectacular job writing this libretto, but that's the idea started there. And it just, as we were working and writing, we just realized it was like, what a great idea. It was just, I always knew the music for it was there. What I didn't know was how the hell we were going to condense it into a libretto, which is, how do you make a screenplay? How do you make a play? And Gene found the solution, and did a wonderful job.
Okay.
I have one. How many times did you have to read it?
I read
Where you got your inspiration?
I read it twice. I read it twice, all the way through, made lots of notes, loved it even more the second time, and loved all the chapters that I hated in the first. Now, those are my favorite chapters. All the ones about knots and ropes and the color of the whale and the whiteness of the whale, all that stuff. Because now I know the narrative, And the wonderful thing about that book is it's like this free variation, theme and variations. There's a narrative going through, but it does this all the way through. It's like jazz before there was jazz. It's the most remarkable book. But I read it through twice, made lots of notes, and then Gene and I talked about it, and I put it away. And the idea being, read the book, internalize the book, forget the book. Because if we were going to do something for the stage, we could not put the book on the stage. You just can't do it. Literary devices do not work on the stage. And so it was really trying to find a way to tell that actively, in real time, get to know those people, and then, but that meant putting the book away and inventing things. And what was amazing was the people that we were most afraid were going to really dislike what we did. The Melville Society, the scholars, they have gone crazy with enthusiasm. They have scheduled conferences around performances. There is a big coffee table book that one of them has put together and edited about them, because they're so thrilled that we were able to do this in, with intermission. It's under 3-hour evening, and you feel like you experience Moby Dick. And what the great thing for them about it is, it was inspired. It's a takeoff of something that Melville gave the world, and then it makes people think about actually reading the book, which is the nicest part.
We're now standing between all of you and a glass of wine. So
we don't want to do that.
We have some time together. We have a little nibble and some wine. You're welcome to stay and chat. But I did want to ask you to thank me. Thank you.